Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Black Women Self Care Bundle Expert Series. I'm Samantha Gregory, your host, with my co host, Dr. Tiffany Mimms. We are doing this bundle together, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Dr. Tiffany, about what you do, who you serve, and how long you've been doing this.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm very excited to be here with you as well, Samantha. We met a couple of years ago, just collaborating, and I remember at that point saying that I would love to collaborate with you and work with you at some point down the line. And so here we are, and so I'm very excited and honored, and I've learned so much from you during this process with your tech skills. So yeah, I'm excited as well. Yeah.
Yeah, me
So
too.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm Dr. Tiffany Mimms. Most folks call me Dr. Tiffany, which is a lot of fun. I appreciate that. They honor the work that I've done, but also keeping it, real, right? So let's see. I work with overcommitted and overworked professional Black women, and when I say that, most Black women I talk to nod their heads like, "Oh yeah, I get it. That's me," right? And so
Mhm.
what I do is I help them really think through how to create sustainable success where they don't feel like they're having to trade their professional aspirations and achievements for their health, their wellness, and their joy, right? I often say that your success should not cost you your sanity, right? And so, but I think it's challenging sometimes for professional Black women to really take the time to slow down, really think about, right, how are you doing, how are you feeling in the midst of all that you're carrying, let alone to make, kind of different decisions that protect your wellness, your well-being, your peace. And so yeah, that's what I do. I've been doing this work for about 20 years, in a variety of different roles, as a psychologist, as a coach, as a consultant, but always really coming back to the heart of supporting professional Black women.
I love that. And I think there's such a we're at a time, especially now, when more women are recognizing that they are overcommitted, they're doing too much, they are living a life for other people versus themselves. And so your work is so crucial, especially at this time when women are now looking for support. They're looking for a voice that looks like them, that have been through similar experiences, so they don't feel like, they're just speaking into the void. So
Right.
I'm really very thankful for your work and, how you're uplifting Black women, especially now.
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, so many of us, have watched our mothers, our aunties, or grandmothers work so hard their entire lives, and then suffer, the health and mental health and relationship consequences behind that. And so I think today, professional Black women are looking for to still achieve the success, but doing it in a different way. And so that's really what my work is all about.
Yes, absolutely. So, what led you to this work? I'm curious about that because you said you've been doing it for 20 years. So what led you to do this kind of work, to become a therapist, to become and then a coach, and to
Yeah.
really help Black women?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so, um, gosh, what led me to psychology? Well, so I went to college as an economics and math major because my mom thought that that would be a really great career for me, right? And so I've always been mostly a good kid, so followed my mother's directions. But
Hmm.
when I got to college, I wasn't doing well. I wasn't connecting with the material. I wasn't doing well. And I took a Black psychology class taught by Hal Fairchild, who's one of the pioneers in the field of Black psychology. And it was the first time that I really saw, my experience as a Black woman, as a member of a, Black family and Black community. I saw those experiences reflected, and language behind what we were experiencing, and normalizing, our lives, right? Not pathologizing in the way in which, society does, but really normalizing who I was and our experiences. And from that moment on, I just, went all the way in the field of psychology. And every time, in every class, every presentation, anything that I had to do, I always made sure to focus on the experiences of women in general and Black women in particular. So, I mean, even before I landed here professionally, that's always been, part of my work. Um, And then a few years back, I transitioned into adding coaching into my work because, again, there's so many ways that we can support each other in community. And I was looking for additional options and ways and creative ways to serve Black women. And so, but also, sometimes people go into things because they're naturally good at it, right?
Hmm.
And so getting to our topic of self-care, people might think that, oh, it's just something that comes naturally to me. And it doesn't, right? It is something that I have studied over all these years, something that I have to be very mindful of in my own life because right, just like so many of us, have received those messages and the socialization of we got to do it all, we got to do it
Right.
perfect, you should be able to do it yourself, handle everything yourself. And so I can't say that, although I'm an expert in the sense that I have studied this and I teach this and I work with folks about it, I too have to be very intentional about paying attention to where overworking, strong Black woman syndrome, all those things come up in my life, as well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. What heal thyself, that's kind of where we land
yeah.
as, coaches and consultants in this space. And I think when we try to bypass that, we cause more harm than good. And so, we
Yes.
definitely being honest with ourselves, like, yes, I actually need to implement the same concepts, materials, modalities that I'm sharing with you because I recognize that in the state of this world and who I am as a person, this is absolutely needed.
Yes, that's right. And practice what we preach for sure.
For sure. So when you hear the word self-care, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so honestly, I have been thinking about self-care just from my experience as a mom. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm thinking about it in that way right now.
Mm-hmm.
My children, I have an 18-year-old, 16-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And so, right, those are big, developmental milestones and transitions for them and for me. So, of course, I'm thinking about them leaving the home, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also thinking about, looking back on the times when they were younger. And so when I've been thinking about self-care lately, I've been thinking about how much care, right, we put into those around us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now with my children, I remember always making sure that they were eating regularly, that they were, eating healthy things. We would make sure that they were well rested, right? We would make sure that they were socialized. We would take them out on fun play dates and get them involved in activities and made sure that they were exercising. And for me as a mom, I pour and continue to pour so much into my children, right? Like an ultimate model of care, right?
Yes.
But lately I've been thinking, to what extent do we practice that same care for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do we think first about, have you eaten, what have you eaten healthy, right? Have you gone out to play at the park? you know,
Mm-hmm.
do you need a nap? Right? Is that why you're so irritable? Do you need a nap? Right? And it seems sort of simplistic, but I think one of the things for Black women is given the fact that we're socialized to take care of everyone else, what would it be like if we turn that same lens on ourselves? So
Mm-hmm.
people talk about self-care, bubble baths and things like that, which I think, sometimes we say it's deeper than that, but it also can be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we think about the ways in which we care for our children, we have their little nighttime routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their bath, we'd rub them up with their lotion, right? Give them all the smell goods, right? Turn down the lights in the room. So, but we don't take that time for ourselves, right? So if a bubble bath would be relaxing for you, if that's self-care, but you find that you're not
Mm-hmm.
creating the time to do that, by all means, right? So that's how I've been thinking about self-care lately.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned about Black women, specifically, and how our roles have been pretty much set for us from like
Yeah.
day one.
Yeah.
So why do you think this is especially important for us? And
Yeah.
what are some of the biggest challenges you see for Black women when it comes to self-care?
Right. Yes. Well, for a lot of different reasons, and that socialization is a big part of it, right? Whether
Hmm.
it has come from, I mean, if you think about it, right? So, although our history began way before we were brought to this country, for those that are here in the US, our
Hmm.
history was very rich before coming here, but we were brought here for a very particular reason, which was to work
Hmm.
nonstop. No
Right.
excuse until you fall out, literally, right?
Yeah.
And so we have had to find ways to, one, sort of adapt to that, and then sort of, survive under such circumstances. And there's ways in which we have continued within those behaviors. We've
Hmm.
internalized those messages that our worth, our productivity, right, our value is in us working, right?
Right.
And then there are different dynamics in society around women in particular having to carry, right, the emotional load, the caregiving
Hmm.
load, we're paid less, right? So there's all these kind of things going on in our society, both historically and presently, that it's hard for us to think about doing anything else but work, right? And so when
Hmm.
we think about taking a break or self care, it usually doesn't even register as a thing, as an option, as something to
Right.
consider.
Yeah, that's detrimental, and I think we see it more and more when we look at our ancestors and we look at all the health issues that they had and the anger issues they had. Where did the angry black woman concept come from? Where did the strong black woman concept come from? All of it, I think, is steeped in the fact that we've never had an opportunity to rest, an opportunity
Right.
to just slow down, to take care of ourselves, without punishment. And I think
Yes.
that piece is so crucial for us to remember, and how it's almost like imprinted in our DNA to
That's
always
right.
be on the move, always to feel guilt and shame
Yeah.
for resting and taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves first. So,
Yes.
yeah, the
Right. Yeah.
situation is crucial.
For sure. I mean, so, really there's two sides to the self-care conversation, right? There's the
Hmm.
nurturing side of it, which kind of taps into what I was talking about earlier, right? And the way in which we care
Yes.
for other people turning that lens on ourselves, right? And
Hmm.
practicing self-care on that level. But then there's that other side of it that, when you hear these quotes about, self-care being an act of, political warfare and rest is resistance, all of those things are true, and that's the other side of this conversation, that it is so radical, it is
Yes.
so different, and a critique of what we have been taught, right?
Hmm.
That it gives us a lot of power, I think, to say that, like, no, I am not going to work for everyone else, right, to the point of my own exhaustion and detriment.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, I've loved this conversation so far, but I would like to know what's the resource that you're contributing to the Black Women Self Care Bundle, and who
Yes.
is it designed to support?
Yes, yes. So I'm excited about this contribution. I pulled together a couple of resources that I have available. So it's the Create Your Desired Life, Reflect and Reclaim collection. So when I talk
Mm-hmm.
about Create Your Desired Life, just the title alone is permission to really look at your life and think about,
Mm-hmm.
what do I want my ideal life to look like, right? And so the resources in here are designed to help busy professional Black women slow down and reflect. So the first resource in this little mini bundle is a self-assessment, right? It sounds sort of formal, but really it's just a set of questions across 8 different areas of your life to see what's working, what's not
Mm-hmm.
working, areas that you may, want to see some changes in. So it starts with the reflection, and then the reclaim. It's reclaiming your right to envision your life for you on your own terms, not
Mm-hmm.
from anyone else's needs, not from their definition, not their expectations, but what it is that you want for your life. So there's a guided journal that I've included with the bundle as well, for free, which usually a paid offer, but I've included it in this. And then the last resource is really about supporting the work that, right, you've already done through the reflection and the reclaiming. People often ask me, from my 20 years of experience doing this, what are some books that I recommend? And so I've put together a list of the 15 books that I recommend for professional Black women that really just sort of support this work and validate, the experiences that we have.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it. And I know that, everyone who signs up for the bundle at blackwomenselfcarebundle.com will be truly impacted by your resource and all the other resources as well. So, like, what what do you hope the resource, I'm sorry, what impact do you hope the resource will have on the women who receive it?
Yes, yeah. Well, like you said, the collection of resources I think are all very powerful and impactful. And so, as a whole, I'm really just hoping that Black women will hear that their self-care is it's more than important. It's critical, right? And then this
Hmm.
will kind of give them permission and an entry into start thinking about, right, how to incorporate self-care into their lives. And mine in particular, like I said, right, some really, it starts with awareness, right? And so some of the questions that are in my contribution in particular are really around, okay, have you really taken the time to look at what is going on, in your life? And sometimes with that awareness becomes this sort of, um, you know, uh, I don't know, encouragement and motivation, right? To
Hmm.
make those changes, and not that you have to do that alone, right? That we are all here to support women through that, but that start, right? To take the step to say, "Whew, I'm really looking at this seriously, taking myself seriously, and ready to take the next steps."
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so beyond this resource, what other offers or services or products and programs do you currently have available?
Yeah, yeah. So there's a number of options. So the first one, so I do a quarterly workshop. It's called Breathe. And again, I'm very intentional about that pause, right? There's power in
Mm.
that pause. So once a quarter, I do a workshop, 3-hour workshop on the weekend for professional Black women. And so the next one coming up is Saturday, July 25th. It's at 10 o'clock Pacific time. And the theme for this quarter is choosing you, choosing joy. So that's one option. So we'll make sure that folks get the information about that, July
Mhm.
25th. And then for more regular support and community and accountability in the fall, I will be starting the Breathe Collective. And again, it's a
Mm.
space for professional Black women to come together to talk together about the challenges with overworking and finding joy in their lives and getting the accountability and the tools to right to practice these things on a regular basis. And so right now looking for founding members for the community, which starts in the fall. So I'd encourage folks, if they want to get in early and really have an active part in building this space,
Mhm.
definitely to reach out to me now. And then, of course, I also offer one-on-one support, right? So for the folks that really want to just like dig in deep into their own, personal, situation and get some support around that, I'd love to do the one-on-one work as well. And I guess the last thing that I'll mention is that I love coming out to groups and,
Mhm.
speaking with groups of professional Black women. So I'm available for speaking and workshops as well.
Nice, lovely. And how can we find you online to learn more about you and your work and stay connected?
Right. So you can find me at my website, which is therosettacenter.com. I didn't mention that. My agency is the Rosetta Center for Counseling and Wellness. It's named Rosetta after my grandmother. So my
Mhm.
website, therosettacenter.com. And then on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, you can find me at Tiffany Mimms. That's Mimms, two M's. So,
Yes, do not forget the second M. You need to have
that's
that.
right.
So as we're wrapping up and this amazing conversation, like what's one thing you want Black women to remember as they continue caring for themselves, their family, their work, and their dreams?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'll just sort of loop back to where I started, right?
Hmm.
So maybe a little experiment or an invitation to folks, right? So think about the the people that you care for the most and the best and the strongest and the hardest care that you provide to other people in your life. And imagine, right, what that would be like if you provide that same level of care to yourself, right? I guess the invitation really is for just 1 week, just one
Mm,
week. See what it would be like if you cared for yourself in the way in which you do other people.
that's beautiful. And I think most of us we can spare 1 week. We can take up the challenge to be able to care for ourselves in the way that we care for, and maybe even more care for ourselves than we do for others, because it's really about filling ourselves up so that we're overflowing and no longer being in that place of depletion.
That's right. Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Tiffany, for our this conversation, for your resource, and we look forward to chatting with you on July 24th for International Self Care Awareness Day for our roundtable discussion with our ambassadors for this bundle. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be
It'll
at
be a great
noon.
conversation. Yeah.
Yes, noon Pacific time, and 3 p.m. Eastern time. So whether you're on the East Coast or West Coast, I think the time is pretty, important. And we're going to just chat, with our ambassadors. We're going to have a great conversation, and we're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions as well, so that you can get to know all of our contributors and be able to implement and integrate self care into your life as a Black woman. And so you can be the wonderful example for your daughters, your nieces, your all the young women in your life, so that we can raise a different generation of young people, of women who know that self care is an integral part of your life. So thank you for being with us, Dr. Mims. Thank you for
Thank you
your
so much.
contribution and for being a partner with me in the Black Women Self Care
Yay.
Bundle. It's been great, and we will see you in another video. Have a wonderful day and be well.